Hello, I'm Mal, and I'm here with my buddy Hadrian. What's going on, Hadrian?
Not a whole lot. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. I'm okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about Massive Orion, not only the recent patch that came out, which I think was dubbed 5.1.2. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, that's the official name of the patch.
That's the official name of the patch, 5.1.2.
Patch 5.1.2. Yep.
We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I think moreover, like we had done, I don't even remember how long ago it was now, but sort of a state of the game discussion. Like, what do we think in terms of how's the health of Massive Orion doing?
Mm-hmm.
How's its community? What's the reaction been to this patch? Those types of things. I mean, what comes to mind first for you? How about we do this? Let's talk about the patch first and the implications for that, and then maybe talk about the health of the game overall. So the patch comes out. All right, so the patch comes out. We've both had about 24 hours to mess around with it. What are your initial thoughts on the patch?
Well, I played, and we talked about this, I played a game to about 200 turns. I wish I had time to do like a full game and try it out, but lots of stuff going on. But my initial response to the playthrough, and I'm not talking about the reading the patch notes and looking at what was done versus what was not done. My initial response was fairly good. I would put it as if you had just a scale of 1 to 5, or you know what, let's put it this way, of 1 to 7, with 1 being a really bad response and 7 being a really good response. My response probably would have been like a 5. One of the first things that popped out at me was I noticed, and I've talked about this a lot in our Let's Plays together and in mine personally, and I'm pretty sure you have as well in yours. I noticed that the AI was much more willing to engage in diplomacy. Another thing that I noticed was I flew, and I was playing on hard mode, by the way. I wanted to test it on a lower difficulty, not the maximum, because as you know, and for those of you who might not have heard me talk about this in the past, if you're listening, I have had issues with playing even on marginally difficult settings, like just hard, with the AI being super aggressive. And I was like, okay, I want to see if it does that again. And so my initial overall response was that it did seem to be a little better and that they were much more diplomatic and willing to form alliances. Actually, I had a lot of them. It was almost too much. I had a lot of them asking for alliances after a while with me because some wars were going on elsewhere in the galaxy. But here's the number one indicator that I thought was really interesting and cool. One tiny little thing to show you that maybe some retooling has happened. I flew my scout straight to Earth. Like right up to Earth, when I was friendly with the humans. Now, you and I both know, in our last co-op playthrough, what did the so-called diplomatic friendly humans do when we got close to them with anything?
They offered you, they invited you over for tea. No, that's right. They tried to rip your face off, I believe is the technical term.
Yes, they tried to utterly annihilate me from the face of the galaxy simply for existing. It didn't make sense. This time, I was able to fly a scout to the home colony, and there were defensive ships in orbit. I do feel like, and tell me whether or not you agree, I feel like, and this is an indicator of the state of the AI, I feel like the AI before this patch, even on hard mode, would have blown up that scout. And it's such a small thing, but to me I was like, okay, progress.
No, I had the exact same experience, and I have been playing on multiple difficulties. As you know, I tend to just play on extreme, but to your point, for testing purposes, you need to test it across different difficulties because the AI has sort of different profiles and
Precisely.
Yep. So I played a game on normal. Again, not to the end. Like you said, we got other things to do. You can't play multiple games to the end. But I played on normal, then I played on hard, and then I played on extreme. And I can echo what you're saying in terms of, yes, it appears that you can get it's easier to get agreements from the AI. It also seemed like the AI was less erratic in terms of being backstabby. Like they seemed less backstabby once they had entered into agreement.
That's good.
So those were good changes. Okay, I thought that was a good change. And even though I know that some people don't like the changes made to the pollution system, I think once people start a fresh game and get into it, particularly the mid game, it's easier to understand the pollution metric. It's relatively easy to control. Now, late game, it becomes a little bit more problematic, even if you have a waste dump.
Really?
I think for people, yeah, because it's just because you got 100 reduction doesn't mean you can't exceed that. Because if you've got a really super high production planet, particularly if you've got planetary administration where you're feeding production from a whole system to it, you can get over 100 production easy.
Yeah.
So then it's that situation of, okay, I'm going to build really quick for 4 turns, and then I got to stop. And then I'm going to build really quick for 4 turns, and then stop. So that can happen. But I think the system overall is fine. I don't have any problem with that change. I think it was a good change. Now, some of the other changes made in the patch, I understand because, historically I've got the perspective on the series, and it looks like they were trying to tap something from Master of Orion 2 with regards to changes made to the gravity.
I do not have that perspective.
Okay, so it looked like they were trying to emulate Master of Orion 2 in terms of what they're doing with the gravity system in regards to the Belrathi and the Cylons, which makes sense. Hey, no problem. Sounds good. Let's do that. But it's like they implemented half of the idea, and then, I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like, the Belrathi now have high gravity tolerance, and therefore have no penalty on high gravity worlds, which makes perfect sense. But as you and I have confirmed, if they go anywhere else, they get a penalty. Mm-hmm. And if you go build a custom race, the privilege of having a penalty on 66% of the worlds that you encounter is that you get to pay 4 points for it. Now, I mean, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah. So, I can understand why people are like, well, why'd they screw over the Belrathi? I have asked the same question, actually. And I think I mentioned to you that I already emailed the devs. I haven't heard back from them.
Right.
And I hope that I do, because some of the changes just don't make any sense.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying too. It's not so much that it doesn't make sense that, these penalties should exist. And by the way, the penalties Mal's talking about, there's a 25%, there's a half penalty, if you will, because the standard penalty is 50%. When you're on a world that completely is a polar opposite to your tolerance. So for instance, if you have a low G tolerance, then you get a 50% penalty on high G, but a 25% on normal G. So when the Belrathi try to settle on a normal G world, you get that half penalty, or maybe you want to say a quarter penalty because it's 25%. Regardless, that is, I mean, as an idea, okay, I'm with you up till that point, but then when you consider that does exclude from possibility for colonization most of the planets you're going to run into, and it's a trait you have to pay for when creating a custom race, that's where the balance / just
right, and
the sanity of it goes away.
Okay, so just to put things in perspective, I don't know, we have some viewers that maybe they aren't as familiar with the game or they haven't done custom races.
Yeah.
To put things in perspective, if memory serves, for 4 points, you can get things like plus 30% to all production.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, or plus 30% to population growth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you kidding me? So, I mean, it just doesn't make, it simply doesn't make any sense. And I'm assuming that it was, at this point, that it was just an oversight.
It's possible.
I've got to think that was just, that was just sort of an oops moment.
Yeah, it might be released in a hotfix tomorrow. It might be in a hotfix by the time we release this video. Who knows? But that's just the current state of the game. What else did you notice in your playthrough? I mean, I talked a little bit about mine. Did you notice anything else positive, negative, anything that just jumped out at you right off the gate, aside from the AI's more diplomatic ways?
Not that was huge. I mean, tactical combat, the new tactical combat UI, I like.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to do like real late game combat with the new tactical UI. And the important piece being that you can hold weapon systems back,
right,
and not have them fire. So I haven't been able to test to my liking yet. That this is nothing on the game. I just haven't had the time to do it. I want to test late game combat with that to see how much making certain types of ships with certain type of weapon loadouts and then holding fire, how well that plays out. Like, can I have a group of ships move forward and sort of chew up the shields off of the enemies, and then behind them perhaps have ships with like a bunch of super fast missiles ready to go, but I have them on hold, right? Like I'm waiting, and then I, release the Krakens, and then they all go out. Will that work? I don't know. But what I do like is the fact that I now have the potential to try that, which I think is cool.
Yeah, they definitely have done. I mean, when you look at the list of changes, by the way, the patch notes are going to be linked in the description of this video on both our channels, folks. So if you want to see the stuff we're talking about for ourselves, and knowing Mal, he probably has some words up on the screen as well. I'll try to add some to my video to kind of to coincide with what's happening here. But with what we're talking about. But the full patch notes are linked in the description. And when you look at the list of changes made to the user interface, as in the UX section, it's the longest list of the patch. The AI list is also pretty impressive, like in terms of just number of bullet points and number of things to kind of digest and read over. And some of them are in both categories, in all categories, are substantial. But they definitely have put a lot of work into revising the user interface. In some ways, some things that maybe people were looking forward to, some basic stuff. I mean, an example of something that maybe not everyone was asking for, but that you would expect to see in a game like this. You can now disable the intro video of the game. That's just a basic setting that was maybe missing from the vanilla version. So they're filling in gaps. And sometimes the gaps are small things where you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that was kind of happy. But at the same time, I don't know. What do you feel like looking at the list of changes? What do you feel like was missing from this patch, Mal?
I think for me, and I've seen quite a bit of this on the various places you would go to read about the game, be it the forums or Steam or subreddit or what have you, that it's not that this patch was bad. As a matter of fact, I actually think overall that this patch was really good. I think it was really good.
Yep. I second that.
The issue I have, and I think is echoed by others, is that it's not that this isn't a good patch. It's a good patch. The issue is that where's the other stuff? Because we still don't have some of the things that are really sort of, it should be there. Like rally points comes to mind.
Rally points? Hang on. Hold on, Mal. Are you suggesting that in games involving strategy and warfare and productions of large numbers of units that can be difficult to keep track of, let alone give individual orders to, rally points might be helpful?
It might be a good idea. It might be useful. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there.
I don't know about that.
I'm throwing it out there as a maybe it could be useful. Well, and you know what? Because the comparisons are going to be drawn. Is that let's look at some numbers, okay? Because okay. I know you're a numbers guy, and so I'm trying to appeal to the fact that you're a numbers guy. So let me roll some numbers.
Thank you.
Past
How considerate of you.
Okay. All so right. let's compare the health of Master of Orion to say Stellaris. Okay, so Stellaris came out. Initially, people, I think, were pretty positive about it. Then the discussion about the mid-game lull and some of the performance issues in the end-game, and those things kind of crept up. And then, how's the game going to perform down the road? And then it started getting its patches. And then it recently just got, the Highland patch 1.3, and then the Leviathans DLC.
Which are amazing. Both amazing.
Which are both, really, really strong.
Phenomenal, yeah.
So when we're looking at number of active players, in the last 30 days, Stellaris is up over double. It's like 212% and has an active average player base of like 7,600 people, okay? At any given point in the day. Master of Orion is down 32% and is got an active player base of 986. And that's, let's also add in the fact that Master of Orion just went on sale. It was like $18. Just put out a major patch, and seemingly hasn't had an uptick in player base.
Yeah. How much of that? To be fair, how much of that do you think we can attribute to games like Stellaris and Endless Legend 2? Excuse me. Obviously, Endless Legend 2 is still in early access, by the way, folks. For those of you who haven't played it yet, but the point is, right now we're in this this just insane deluge, this tsunami of grand strategy, 4X strategy, and specifically sci-fi strategy games. How much of that do you think can we attribute this low Master of Orion player base to, or is it Master of Orion's fault?
It's Master of Orion's fault.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Yeah, and this is coming from, and I said this in the update video that I put out yesterday for the patch, is that I am an admitted fanboy of the series.
Yes.
And during the early access, when things were, at times, going off the rails or whatever, I would always defend the dev team, and I still do, because I think to a large degree, you have this existing, intellectual property that they took over, and if they tried to innovate it all and didn't just make a new Mass Effect Orion 2, then they were criticized, and then if they didn't, then they were criticized. So they've been firmly in the damned if they do, damned if they don't category
Rock
from the
in a hard
onset,
place.
which is a screwed up place to try to develop a game.
Absolutely.
Having said that, for the love of God, you guys have some low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Add in ship veterancy. Add in governors.
Right.
Add in ship commanders.
Right.
Add in rally points.
Right.
I mean, this is low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, and for those of you who might not know what Mal's talking about, if you're newer to either channel, when he says ship veterancy, that's a technical term for, actually think Civilization 5 or 6. If you have a unit that you've had for dozens of turns, has been through a couple of battles, that unit probably has a few promotions on it in Civilization 5 or 6, doesn't it? It has some advantages because of the fact that it's been through some stuff. It has some veterancy. So that's what Mal's talking about. Right now, there's really no benefit to being smart enough with your tactics and your movements of your ships that you keep your ships alive for longer so that you have ships that are more powerful and crews that are more experienced as a result of that. There's no benefit at all whatsoever. You could just make a new ship and it contributes just as much, with the exception of maybe being different because of the parts on the ship. If you have an unupgraded ship elsewhere in the galaxy, but you build a new one, maybe that one will be more powerful because it's got the newest tech.
In case in point, because you can't earn that advanced crew, then when you have to spend all kinds of credits because you can't use industry to retrofit your ships, you have to spend, essentially money, right, to upgrade your ships.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to spend the money. You're better off just scrapping the ships and building them fresh versus making the investment to retrofit said ships, because their crews are the same as the ones that you would get from rebuilding. You know what I mean? There's no advantage to retrofitting your ships, and that's an issue.
It is.
So yes, I think I do. Look, do I still think Mass Effect Orion's a good game? I want to be clear about this. The answer to that is yes, or I wouldn't play it, and I wouldn't spend time talking about it. But that right there sums up what I think about it, is that it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a great game if they would just add in the things that the player base is asking for. So stop redesigning things that you've already designed. Like the pollution system wasn't bad. The one we had wasn't bad. The one we have, you could argue, is better. Yeah, I'll capitulate. Yep, absolutely, it's better.
Now,
but I didn't ask for it.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's be as fair as possible. And by the way, I'm glad you said what you did, and I want to second it as well. But while I have a chance to throw in a caveat, as if there is any temptation to feel like what you're hearing as you listen to Mal and I talk is like, oh, they're really being negative, they're being highly critical. Yes, we're being critical, but not the same as being being negative or trying to be hard or trying to dog on the game. This is obviously a game that Mal and I have both supported a lot and continue to support. We just want the best for it. So I hope that's clear. But to be fair, on and in the spirit of trying to be not to use these words, but in the spirit of trying to be fair and balanced. Well,
now here's where you and I differ. I don't care about being fair and balanced. I care about whether or not we're being honest with the people that come to us for information. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Second thing is, I also want to be honest with the development team. Like, hey guys, really want your game to be great, and it's not, and here's the reasons why I think that.
Okay, then in that case, that'll make this back and forth even more interesting. Did we not both have our gripes with the old pollution system in our very Let's Plays, which people can watch on YouTube right now, with points where once you had established large empires, pollution would build up and get really, really kind of annoying? Did we not both say at points, man, this is really kind of annoying, I wish they would fix this?
I'll give you that. The spam about having to address it.
Yes.
Yeah, that did.
Yes.
Absolutely. But that's not fixed by this. You say it's not like this new system fixes that.
You don't think so?
No, it doesn't fix that. It might help take away some of that, warning spam and all that, but it doesn't it doesn't fix it. You're still going to have to address and manage the pollution, and that's fine.
Well, the pollution doesn't have a
mechanic is
severe
there.
of an effect now. For those of you who missed the patch notes, the pollution, here's how it is. I'm just going to read the notes really quick because this is a shorter portion of this. Pollution is now generated by population and production output. There's a new ongoing effect. If pollution in a colony goes up, so if you have high pollution, it pollutes the soil and reduces the cell's food output. So the old pollution system is that if pollution filled all the way up and got to a certain point, you would actually have biome degradation. You would be getting warnings, but it was also what the warnings were about. And there was this feeling of constantly having to fend off biome degradation. And by the way, also pollution cleanup doesn't exist anymore for those of you who are wondering what the pollution changes are. So I think, now granted, this is based on only 200 turns of play, so feel free to assert otherwise if this could be just based on a skewed first impression. But I think that by virtue of the fact that the food is now affected as opposed to the biome degrading, maybe biome degradation is still a thing and I missed that. By virtue of the fact that it's the food degrading, there is a little bit of reduced severity. It's a little bit less obnoxious because, yes, maybe the warnings still pop up. They didn't as much for me, but maybe they do. Maybe you're right. But even when they do pop up, you're not necessarily as panicked about them because they don't represent the permanent destruction of, well, unless you terraform, the permanent reduction of your planet's biome level, if that makes sense. And I think that's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction at the very least.
I already said I think that the changes that they made in the patch are good.
Yeah.
You got me. You got me, Hadrian. I agree with you. I'm just looking for the other things.
Yeah.
I'm looking for rally points. I'm looking for ship veterancy. I'm looking for
me too.
The various leaders, a revamp of the espionage system, because the espionage system is still not where it needs to be. It's it's not nearly as engaging as it should be, or as fun, quite frankly.
Right.
It just feels like a system that's just sort of tacked on and hanging out there.
Yep.
Now,
you're just constantly cranking out spies, and then when one's ready, you send it out, give it an order, and say, "Okay, go do this." And they either succeed or they fail, and you never stop making spies. It's like, okay, I've got the spies I want. Thanks.
Yeah, I want a system where I am paying for them, and then I have to pay for maintenance on them, and I want them to be really expensive, like exorbitantly expensive.
Right.
That you can only have a handful of them, and they're super, super useful. And that's not the system that we currently have. Again, my thing is that I think the game can be great. I really do. My fear is that because the player base is diminishing and they're rapidly running out of ways to monetize it. I'm like, why would someone buy the game today? Okay. And why would they buy DLC for this game? If the game is not, if the game's not going to have an active player base, if it's not going to be, continue to be developed. And I think that's where we're at. That is where we're at.
And also, why would people buy the game if there is not a strong sense from within the community that the most important things to the community are being addressed in order?
Right.
Which is a tough question, and I hate to have to ask it, but there it is.
Yeah, but that's it. Honestly, I don't have anything else to say about the current state of the game. I am very, very interested to hear about what other people think. I really want to know, because I sometimes you and I, even though people think that we're always in the know, the reality is we're not, and we kind of get in our own little bubbles, and this is what we think, and we think that we're right. Hey, well, I don't. I'm just some guy that plays games, and occasionally people watch us play them. Right? That's who we are. So I really want to hear what your community has to say about it, mine, and the sort of the greater Master of Orion community as a whole. I want to know what those people think about the current state of the game, and what would make Master of Orion great in your opinion. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I second that. I think that, if anything, going back to our original positive note, it is a good patch. It's not necessarily the patch we expected or wanted, but it is a good patch. And so there is some discussion to be had about it and about, what might be coming down the line. They are going to do some DLCs for this. Who knows when? But I think it's obvious that's part of most people's models now. So what they are, we have no idea. When they're coming out, we have no idea. But It'll be nice to see, what kind of changes might be made to these larger scale mechanics that we're talking about in some of these really big discussion point items. But just I want to see that happen while the game is. God, this sounds so harsh, but like while the game is still viable, like while the game still has a player base that could to enjoy it and to turn it around and improve the game's fortunes from where they currently are. But we'll see.
I think that's a great point, right? You're absolutely. Those are the words I was looking for. Is that I want the game to. I don't want the game to be a great game a year from now, when there's absolutely zero interest in it whatsoever. I'd like it to be a great game in the not too distant future, while there's still a chance that it can have a vibrant community. We now have modding support, which is something we didn't even touch on.
Oh yeah, good lord, that's like the number one thing,
right? That's like huge.
The developers are screaming at us right now, like, why are you not talking about the number one bullet point in the entire freaking patch in your patch commentary video? Yes, there is mod support.
So, I mean, I think that the bones of what we need are there. We just need them to fill it out. That's all. And I hope that they do.
Yeah. Agreed. Wow.
That's all I got. I got nothing else. Seriously, I don't.
Well, I guess on that melancholy, contemplative, not too depressing, I hope, note, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here.
Hey, it was very nice talking to you, though. No, look, if people have watched this at all, then they know that we're not negative Nancy's or upset Rogers or whatever the hell the terms are. I don't know.
No, this is very much a commentary. Did you say upset Rogers?
I did. I made that up. I just threw that
doesn't
out
work.
there.
That doesn't work at all, Mal.
Well,
on a scale of 1 to working at all, that's like a -5.
Hey, look, you can't say a term like negative Nancy, even though it might have been around for a gazillion years. You can't say that and then not say some kind of male version of it. Do you not know the rules now? Do you not know the rules? So it's upset Roger is what we're. Is that what I said? Something like that.
Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah. Where were we going with that before I started giving you crap about upset Roger?
I don't know.
Oh god, it's.
I think we were just gonna wrap it up. We're gonna end this. We're gonna end this. We're gonna end
gone. No, there was something. I'm telling you, there was something, and now we're.
I don't know.
Now we're just in this awkward moment of. Hadrian had something to say, and now it's gone. And son of a. Okay, well, yeah. I guess we'll end it. God, it's gonna bother me for like the next.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, okay.
You'll be okay. I've got faith. You'll be fine.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll go ahead and wrap this one here. Thanks very much for watching, folks. If you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along if you're not subbed already. Mal and I each cover Master of Orion pretty extensively on our channels, or at least we have in the past. We don't have as much content going right now, but that's just because we've been waiting for big patches and DLCs and things like that, and just big movements. So keep an eye out for future content showcasing this update and future updates. Anything to add at the end?
No. Other than thanks so much for watching, folks. Really do appreciate it. He's Hadrian. I'm Mal, and we'll see you later.